All right, guys, just going to work through a few problems here. We're actually kind of moving on from the concept of slope, and we're going to use that to help us with some problems today. We're going to be able to graph and write equations, lines in slope-intercept form is kind of our mission for today. First, let me go ahead and write slope-intercept form just so you've got that down. And should have seen that in the notes by now, but I'll go ahead and write it again. It's y equals mx plus b. And again, the b up here stands for the y-intercept, while the m right here stands for my slope. So this is kind of the way that we should write equations if we're to write them in slope-intercept form and what each piece of that means. Of course, another piece that I'm going to show you here in just a few minutes is this could also be considered the y-coordinate, and this could be considered the x-coordinate, which can be really helpful. Let's start first with trying to sketch the graph of a line. The first one we're given here is y equals 1/5 x plus 2. Now, again, we don't need to be worried and concerned about the fact that this is a fraction. It's actually a good thing that it's a fraction because slope, as we've come to understand, is rise over run, which is a fraction. So that actually helps us. But the way we want to start graphing, and again, I'm not taking anything for granted. I want to not assume that everybody knows how to do this. Let's just start from the beginning and go from there. So if you look at this, this is in slope-intercept form because I have a y equals, this would be my slope of m, x plus 2, and the positive 2 here is my y-intercept. So that's really where I'm going to start when I start to graph these things. I want to go ahead and graph this y-intercept first. So the positive 2, I'm always going to start at the origin. And again, this is the y-intercept, so it's where it crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to go up to positive 2. I'm going to go ahead and put me a point right there. Okay? So that part is done. Check. Now, from here, this tells us where we need to take our slope. Now, remember, this is rise over run. So this tells me I'm going to rise positive 1. Remember, rise positive 1 means that I'm going to go up. So I'm going to go up 1. And it tells me I'm also got a positive 5. So that means to the right 5. So I'm going to go from where I started, from the y-intercept right here. I'm going to go up 1, and I'm going to go over 5. So up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's where my other point is. And again, from that point, I can take me a straight edge, which, again, you're going to kind of be doing this virtually. You've got it better, actually, than I do. So I would take a straight edge like this and strike a line. There we go. That's a little messy, but again, you, on your standpoint, you're using a computer, so you can use the line tool on Cami, and as long as you've kind of got those 2 points laid out, you can actually graph this right on the paper. So it's going to be very useful for you. Now, one of the things you're going to encounter when you get into this is something like this. So my first question for you on number 3 is that in slope-intercept form? Now, remember, slope-intercept form is supposed to be this, y equals mx plus b. Well, I've got my y over here, I've got my x over here. As a matter of fact, I've even kind of got the b over here. I've got everything over here on this one side. So this is definitely not in slope-intercept form. So one of the first things I need to do before I graph this is to put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm actually going to slide this down, and we'll work on this down here. So 0 equals negative 8 minus 2y plus x. Well, let's just think about what we really need to do in order to get this in slope-intercept form. Well, really, if you look up here, I really just need my y to be over here, and everything else can stay over here as far as I'm concerned. So I really just need the y over here. Well, let's look at what we've got for y. We've got negative 2y. Okay, remember, this is connected to that. So really, we need to get this whole thing over to the other side, over here. So in order to do that, if I'm subtracting 2y now, I need to add 2y to both sides in order to get this over there. Okay, I'm going to slide this work down for now. So if you look at that now, I have 2y equals negative 8 plus x. All right, so one of the things I guess we really need to think about is in my slope-intercept form, again, it should be y equals mx plus b. Well, I've got the y in the right spot. The only problem is I still have a 2 there. We'll fix that here in a minute. But I also should have my x term first and my y-intercept over here. Well, if you notice, this is a little bit backwards. All right, so let's fix that first. So I'm going to leave the 2y equals, and I'm just going to switch these two around. Remember, this is commutative, so it means I can switch it around and it doesn't really matter. So I've got a positive x minus an 8. It's really important you do that because a lot of people will just look at this term and say, okay, it's right there, it's in the right spot, it must be the slope. Well, it's really not. Okay? So now I'm getting closer, but I still have to get rid of this pesky 2. Or because I need this y to be by itself. Well, again, if I've got a 2 right beside of a y, that means multiplication. So I need to do division. Now, here is the tricky part. If I divide this part by 2, then everything over on this side also has to be divided by 2. So watch what happens. I'm going to divide this by 2, and I'm also going to divide this by 2. So let's work through this together. 2 divided by 2 just goes away. I end up with y equals. That is a really good start because that's what I wanted. Now, here's my question for you. What is in front of this x, even though I don't see it? Well, always, before any variable, if there's nothing there, then it's understood that there is a 1. And so this really becomes y equals 1/2 x. And then here I have negative 8 divided by 2. Negative 8 divided by 2 equals negative 4. And look there, we now have this thing in slope-intercept form, which means I can now graph this up here. We'll do that real quick. Y equals 1/2 x minus 4. So y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Again, this is my y-intercept, negative 4. So I'm going to go down to here to negative 4 on the y. Remember to start at the origin, go down. Now I'm going to use my slope to help me figure out what to do. I need to go up 1 and over 2. I could even do that again, up 1 and over 2. So there are the points that are on my line. Again, I'm going to take a straight edge, do the best I can to put in a line through those points, and there's my line. Okay, now let's look at the back side of this page, and I'm going to go ahead and start with number 5 in particular. It says, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line given the slope and y-intercept. So really, this is giving you everything you need. Again, remember slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So let's just start out. Y equals, do I know what my slope is? Well, yeah, it's right here, negative 3/4. So I know that that needs to go right there. Remember that the x just kind of goes along for the ride with this. And then it tells me my y-intercept plus b is 2. So that is a positive 2, which means I just need to make that a positive 2. And there's your answer. Those are pretty doggone simple. All right, so let's go to number 9. Same instructions, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. Here's the issue. Is this thing in slope-intercept form? Well, no, it's not even really close. As a matter of fact, let's just write it down real quick. Y equals mx plus b is what I need. That is definitely not what I have. Actually, this is another form that we're going to learn about later. It's called standard form. And this is really useful because sometimes you can graph just from this if you've got some of the right information in there. So it's very, very helpful at times. But we need to try to move some stuff around. So let's talk about this. We have 3x minus 2y equals 8. Well, the first thing that really bothers me is I've got this 3x over here with this y term that really needs to go away. So in order to do that, I need to get this right here across this equal sign. In order to do that, I just need to subtract 3x from both sides. So now I have negative 2y. Remember that that negative is with that 2. So remember to have it with it. Equals negative 3x plus 8. And I'm going to go ahead and move my work right over here just so you can see what's going on. I got negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Again, I need to try to get rid of this negative 2 because this y needs to be by itself. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. And remember, I've got to divide by everything over here. So these are going to cancel. The negative 2 and the negative 2 is going to cancel. I'm going to end up with y equals. Now I've got a negative divided by a negative. A negative divided by a negative makes a positive. So this will be y equals 3 halves x, no negatives anymore. Double negative makes a positive. And then over here, I've got positive 8 divided by negative 2. Positive divided by negative makes a negative. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Here would be my final answer. So a little more math on that one. And then these last two I want to go over is number 13 and number 14. It tells us that we need to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given point with the given slope. Well, these are going to be a little more challenging, and actually tomorrow I'm going to show you another form that may really help you to do this easier. I think it's easier, but we got to work through this today. You're only going to have 2 of these problems, so I'm going to work through 1 of each, and then you'll have 1 of each that you'll need to complete as well. So let's start with number 13, and I'm going to do the work down here because it's going to take a little room. And it says that we have a slope of 3/5. We know that much, but we're going through this point right here. So what I want to start with is I know I've got to get this in slope-intercept form. So let's write that down. Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. You're going to be so tired of hearing that by the time this is all said and done. But it really is something that you want to see is pretty useful. So let's fill in what we know. Okay, we know that the slope is 3/5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. Okay, we do not have, however, the y-intercept. All we're told is that it goes through this particular point right here. Well, let's think about the way ordered pairs work. With ordered pairs, this 5 is my x term, and this 3 is my y term. So if you look down at our slope-intercept form, we just happen to have a y, and we just happen to have an x. We just don't know what b is. So watch what we can do. We can actually substitute in this value for y right here. So here we know that our y coordinate is 3. Guess what? I'm going to put my 3 right here where the y is, right underneath my slope-intercept form. I'm just basically just filling it in, okay? Now for my x term, I know that my x coordinate is a 5. So guess what? I can put a 5 right here. Now you'll notice I'm going to put parentheses because I want to indicate that there is some multiplication going on here. There's multiplication between the slope and the x, right? So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that, and then I've got plus b. So the b is what I really don't know at this point. So now if you look at my equation, really what I'm solving for is I'm solving for b. I don't know what b is, but I can try to work out the rest of this stuff. So let's think about this. I've got 3 equals. Now here may be tricky for some of you, but I've really got 3/5 times 5. I can make that a fraction. And I'm going to do this work over here. Really, I've got 3/5 times 5/1. Now, depending on how you're used to working out fractions, when you multiply fractions, you just go straight across. So really what I have is 3 times 5 is 15. And 5 times 1 is 5. So really 15 divided by 5 just simply equals 3. So when I take 3/5 times 5, really all I get at the end of the thing is 3. So this 3/5 times 5 is actually just 3 plus b. Now, again, I've got to solve for b. I've got to isolate it. So what do I need to do? I need to get rid of this 3 and get it across to the other side. Well, in order to do that, I have to do inverse operations. So I'm going to, instead of add 3, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Now, all of a sudden, let's see what happens. I end up with b equals, this goes away, 3 minus 3, which equals 0. Oh, no, that cannot be right. I got an answer of 0. Well, actually, it can be right. And it's okay when you get an answer of 0 because it can absolutely be 0. So now what I want you to realize is we already knew what the slope was. Now we know what the y-intercept is. So now we can do what it's asking us to do. It's asking us to write the slope-intercept form of this equation. So our final answer is y equals 3/5, which is our slope, x, plus 0. Now, do I need to write plus 0? Not really, because it's not really going to add anything. So guess what? Right here is my answer for number 13. Again, that's a little challenging, I know, but you can absolutely do this. Okay? All right, number 15. Let's look at it real quick, and I will transfer this probably onto another sheet of paper so that you can try to see what we're doing here. All right, so if we look at number 15, we see that it tells us that we need to find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that goes through the given points. This time, they're not even going to give us the slope. Boy, these folks are mean that put out these spreadsheets, right? Put out these worksheets. But this time, all they're giving us is 2 points. Well, we're not going to be fooled by that. We know that I could take 2 points and I could try to figure out what that slope is. I don't need them to do it for me anyway. So remember, we always label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. And you remember to find slope of 2 points, we take m equals y2 minus y1, or the change in y over the change in x. So now, very simply, all I'm going to do is just put in my parts of the equation. So y2 is a 4. Remember that this minus is part of the formula. You need to have that in there. You must have it in there, or you will make mistakes. All right, y1 is my 2 right here, so I'm going to put it in right there. And I'm just substituting into the formula, okay? So then I'm going to go to my x2, which is 2, and I'm going to subtract 3. So note what I get here. I'm going to have 4 minus 2, which is 2, over 2 minus 3, which is a negative 1, and 2 divided by negative 1, a positive divided by negative is going to be a negative, and 2 divided by 1 is just simply 2. So my slope is 2. I have that part figured out. Now it is also given me 2 points. And at this point, I can choose which one I want to use, okay? So for this example, we'll just use this one. You could use either one and it's still going to come out the same answer. So now we're at the same process that we used for number 13. Now I'm going to take this slope and I'm going to take that point and put it in and try to solve for the y-intercept so that I can find the equation of my line. So here we go. Y equals mx plus b. Again, I told you you're going to be tired of hearing that. We're going to go ahead and input our slope, which we figured out was a negative 2. So I'm going to put a negative 2 right there. My y coordinate that we said we were going to use, remember, was 2, 4. In fact, I'm going to write that right down here so that we have it. So I know that my y coordinate is a 4. I'm going to put that in right here. My x coordinate is a 2. So I'm going to put that in right here. And remember, parentheses, because I'm doing multiplication. You could also put a raised dot right there if that made you feel better. Then that's fine with me as well. And you could put a positive b right there. Now we're solving for b. We have positive 4 equals negative 2 times 2. Negative times a positive is negative. 2 times 2 is 4 plus b. Now to solve for b, I need to isolate b, which means I need to get this to the other side. So I need to do inverse operations, which is add 4 to both sides. Now all of a sudden I get b equals 4 plus 4, which is positive 8. Okay, now I can go ahead and fill in my equation, my slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. Y equals, what was my slope again? My slope was negative 2. X and my y-intercept here was 8. So I just very simply put a positive 8. And here would be your answer for number 15. Again, I hope this helps. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to send me a private message, and we'll try to get you the help you need.